Okay, so today we are looking at how to start to prune and shape your tree. So we're not going to do any wiring and shaping, we're just doing branch selection. So I've spent a fair bit of time looking at this tree, and it's good just to sort of have it in front of you while you're doing some other stuff, so not necessarily staring at it, just sort of, it's there, you're sort of getting a feel for your tree. Now I've already decided on the base pretty much where our front is. That may change a little left and right based on decisions we make now, but at the moment on my front I have a little notch in here. I've put a peg in just to make it easier for me to line up for the camera for you, so when it's in line with that trunk, that's where my frontage is. So basically we're following the sweep. Do it with this hand so you can see we're following the sweep as it comes up, and when we get up to here I've got a choice of two branches that I need to choose, but I'm not going to touch them yet. First thing we're going to do is clear out what we know we definitely don't need so we can see the tree a little bit better. So working from the base, we're going to work up and clear out things that we definitely don't need. So the tools I have today are my branch cutters and my fine scissors or shears. And the first thing I'm going to do is remove anything that is dead, such as this piece in here. So I'm just going to snip that back near where it snapped off. Now I think that's the only piece that's been broken in here. It's just a dead leaf in there, not really critical, but I'll just pull it out. And then the next thing I'll do is remove any really weak or branches growing in places where we don't want them. Now we call this spot where a branch is an elbow, and we don't want branches growing from within elbow, so I can get rid of that leaf there as well as this one on top. You can see down here in the back I have some other leaves. In this particular case, I'll just turn it around so you can see that. So these leaves here, I'm actually going to leave them on there even though they're right next to another branch that I will be keeping, because they will help to make my trunk thicken up a bit faster. So they can probably stay there for 6 to 12 months and then I'll remove those. But first up I'm just going to go through and remove all of my elbow branches, and then we'll take another look. So I'll start off just by literally snipping close to the joint, trying to keep my hand out of the way here. That one can stay, so down in here we've got one just there, so snip that one out, snip this one out. There's another one sort of off the back. That one there won't be needed. This one up here. Let's turn it around. Get these ones that are sort of hiding in the back here. Okay, so I'm just probably stop there at the moment. Just a little bit there. So it's good to have a turntable while you're doing this, because it just makes it easy to work your way around the tree. Now I picked my turntable up off of eBay or Amazon or something, but I will actually be listing them on the site for our new supporter, so you will be able to get them if you want. I'm just going to take off those couple of broken bits in there. So that hasn't changed a lot in this particular case, but if you've got a really dense tree, taking out those little bits here will give you more clarity of where your branch structure is. So my thoughts on this tree at the moment are that this will be my first branch, this will be my second branch. Ideally I should have one somewhere in the middle coming out the back, but I don't in this particular instance, so My first backward facing branch is up here. So what we're trying to do is have a branch that goes, in my case, right, left, back, right, left, back, or could be left, right, whichever. But basically alternating like that. So your left and right give the fullness of the tree, and the back branch will give more depth to the tree. So you just want to try to average that out as you're going up. Now we're not going to wire this week, but just bear in mind that your branches can be moved around a fair amount to be placed where you want them. So like this one here has quite, let's see if we can get that into camera view. I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but it has quite a gap that I can create and will actually emphasize the curvature above it if I want. Likewise, this one I can move it around wherever I want it. Okay. Now as we go up this tree, I have this divide, and I could keep both of those parts, but I'm inclined to just follow one path and make it my new main trunk. And the way to try and see what you're going to keep is just by blanking out the parts that you are not sure about. So that was a little bit thick, so here I just have a piece of tissue, but you can use plastic bags, soft cloth, but basically something that's a whitish colour. So I can put that up there and sort of see that, okay, if that branch is gone, what's it going to look like? So this is going to give me a nice shape flowing up and then kicking back in a different direction. And again, I've got a fair bit of movement, so I can bend that around if I want. I might even make it, just doing that bit of movement there, that it comes up and then follows this very thin branch up, or I may stop it at that point. So you can do that, just try it on the other side. So I can look at it from that angle there, and I might want to change my forward facing angle a bit. So also don't be scared to lean your pot on different directions to get a bit of a feel for what it will be like if it's on different angles. So just realigning the front there for you, about there. So we can see that I could follow that line and it's a lot more straight, but again, I've got flexibility to bend. So it won't necessarily stay that straight. So I need to choose which of these two branches I'm going to keep. So I'm just going to sit and ponder that for a short time. I'm basically assessing what other branches do I have up higher that I can work with, what's the structure like. So I may want at this point to go through, because I thought I had made my mind up to keep this side, but I'm sort of rethinking that now. So I'm just going to go through and take out a couple of these little bits just to see a bit better. Other branches that you would take off in the initial cleanup are anything that's coming straight forward. If it can be bent to the side and used, that's fine, but if it's coming straight forward and it's like poking you in the face effectively, you probably want to lose it. This one doesn't really have them, but you may find some downward facing branches depending on how mature your tree is. So there's an example there. Now I can easily bend that one. In fact, I think it's been snapped looking at that. Maybe not. But that's a downward facing branch, very thin one. I could move that anywhere I want because of how thin it is. But if that was a thicker branch, because it does point straight down, I would most likely remove it. Okay, so just back to assessing this. Get rid of that leaf there because it's effectively the same as a forward facing branch. So we basically just go through and assess the tree. So I am actually going to change my plan, that I was going to lop this one and keep this one, but I'm thinking I will lop this side off and keep that one instead, because it actually already has a bit of gradual movement and it's got a few more branches for me to choose from. So using my branch cutters, I'm not going to cut it right in at the base to start with, because there is some risk there of some dieback of the branch, which may affect the trunk. And once you get to know your trees, you may be able to judge this better. But I'm just chopping it a little bit higher up. Now I could put that in as a cutting if I want. So I can now see more clearly the nice open space, and that's something else we want to aim for, is having open areas that you can see in. So we basically define pad structures where we have major branches and then leaves, and in between those structures you want to be able to see into the tree. Just going to chop a tiny bit more off that where the other shoots coming out, just so it's not in my way. So at this point I've already cleared out most of my lower growth. I've got some upper growth up here that I need to assess. Now I could chop that top off, or I could just leave it for the moment to help thicken everything up. But wherever there's the bulk of leaves is where the tree will put its energy into the plant. So if we want to force the energy down lower, it's actually good to chop some of the higher stuff off. So while this will add to the thickening, I'm better off at this stage in chopping somewhere up there, and that will force energy out into these lower branches, which will also in turn thicken up my trunk. So I'm just going to take a very rough guess at the moment and chop up the top there. So my tree is now quite a bit shorter and starting to get to a more manageable sort of height. So now I've got some decisions to make for my left, right, front, back, well not front but left, right, back branches. So I'm happy with where these are at the moment in this lower portion, but once we start to get up here into the newer growth, it just doesn't feel quite balanced to me. So I have a left facing branch, it's probably right on the camera view. The next one up is also a left facing. I'm going to lose that one because I have a right hand one here. In the behind side I've got some new growth. I've got a bit of an existing branch, so I'm going to, in this case, lose that very new growth. And I've got a bit of a split there, so I'll just chop that one out as well. Now often when we get to the upper, we will choose to chop out the stronger branches, so like the top piece I took off, and keep the weaker branches. And again, that means that we're going to do more development, but more energy will continue to grow down into the bottom here. So I'm just having a look through while I've got it on this angle as to anything else. I've just got a leaf in an elbow there. I'm just going to go through and take out my significantly larger leaves. And I'm not chopping all of them right the way back. I'm leaving a bit of a stub there because I don't want to damage any buds that may be forming in the elbow for future branches that I need. So I'm just cutting near the base of the leaf. Okay, so I still feel I need to do something up the top here, that it just doesn't look quite right at this stage. And bear in mind that not looking right now is not a big problem because we'll have plenty of time to refine this as the tree grows new growth each season. But I do feel probably this branch here, because it's pointing towards the front, needs to go. So I'll chop it just a little bit away from the joint to allow for dieback. Okay. And I've just got a double coming out from this joint, so we'll get rid of that. And I probably just need to thin some of my top out. So I'll just take short bits off the top there, a little bit off. So I'm sort of trying to get a traditional tree type of shape, so the pyramid where it's broader at the bottom and starts to thin out at the top. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of that shape but not chopping it right the way back. And same over here. Okay. Now, I am feeling inclined to actually lower the top even further. It's going to take some time for this to thicken up, and in that time we're going to get new shoots and everything coming out the top. So I may actually take some more off of that top there. Alright, so I've made a choice. I'm going to chop this off right here. Let's get rid of that leaf. So I've reduced a lot off the top of my tree. I basically had a tree that previously was up there, and in fact it was a little bit higher on this side, and I'm now down to there. So I've reduced my tree down quite a lot. I am going to, once I get to the wiring, just give it a bit more movement like so, and this will become my very top branch and my leading side branch over here. Sorry, my top side branch. I am lacking in this area another branch to my left and to my back, but hopefully that will grow given time. So ideally, I probably should have left a little bit of that one on there, but it's gone now, so I'll just have to wait for that to grow, because that would be my back branch, my next right branch, and another left branch. So not quite in the same sequence, but that's okay. Or I could pull this one around and make this my right branch, left branch, and possibly pull, whoop, snap that one off, pull that one back. I'm actually just going to leave that there. Even though I just snapped that, that will actually heal if I don't move it around. Okay, so rather than playing, I'll call that it. That's just a quick guide to trying to clear out your tree and choose branches. So I'll just recap. So we go through and we move the elbow branches out, so any leaves or short branches that are growing in an elbow area or an armpit. We remove anything that grows directly down that looks reasonably substantial, bearing in mind thinner branches can be wired and redirected if you're not too rough like I was with that one. We then choose branches that go left, right, back, or some combination similar to that. It doesn't have to be symmetrically that way, but something like that. And we thin the shape into a point, trying to give some sort of proportion to the base thickness and the top height. Obviously it's very hard to get a proportion at this young stage of a tree, but that's the general principle, that we're trying to shape it up and make everything nice and flowing with the tapers. You may even want to pull a branch. I'm not going to do it because I'll damage that more, but pull a branch right down to give yourself a cascade style if you want. Branches can be moved a fair way if you really want to push them to. Okay, just one last pointer which I didn't think of because this tree doesn't have the issue, but if you get a branch situation where you have branches coming out either side like that, where we call that a T-bar. So I've basically got a branch there and a branch there, and there may even be a third one somewhere around, or sometimes even a fourth, but we don't want that. We only ever want, in any given point on the branch, two effectively branches. So what we will do, if this was this one, I would have chopped that off. So at every single point I have, in this case the trunk we'll just refer to as a branch. So we've got a branch that's going up and one split off there. Keeps going up, one split off there. Keeps going up, we've got one split off at the back, up, one split here. We had the split there, but we've taken it back, so I've just got the one there. So all the way up, no matter where I look on this tree, I've only got one split off from the main branch. So you want to make sure you do that. If you don't, you'll get what's called reverse taper, where you'll get a bulge. So this point under here, where I have this group of little branches and the big one and the main trunk, If I was to leave these ones long term, I'll get swelling and a bulge or reverse taper happening there. But because I want to try and fatten up this part of the trunk at the moment, I will leave them for a while. It won't cause me any problems until that really starts to fatten up on this branch, which is probably going to be a couple of years. And I can chop it off well before then. So that's it for this video. We'll see you in the group chat.